Hey guys, HelpfulLockPicker here. The video I have for you today is some tips and tricks on opening your first American lock. The first tip I have is choosing the right thickness of pick. The thickness of the pick I like to use is 18 thousandths. The reason behind is it gives you plenty of room to navigate through the warding. I can open these locks with 25,000 picks and even 30,000 picks pretty reliably, but the issue is when you start touching the side of the warding, you will dampen some of the feedback. Now for tensioning, I do not recommend bottom of the keyway. That can bind the core. What works best is top of the keyway and 50 thousandths. Now when you tension these locks, it's very important that you use feather light tension. All the key pins are serrated. You have serrated key pins, serrated driver pins, and even serrated spools. The serrated key pins make it hard to recover from an overset. And feather light tensioning has been described as the amount of force it takes to, say, hold a piece of paper against the wall. So what I recommend is you just do your feather light tension, and then you set one pin at a time, listening for the click. So just set it up one click, and then set the next pin. So now we're going to see what it takes. Nothing on 1, 2 clicks on 2, click on 3, click on 4, click on 5, 1, couple clicks out of 2, 3 dropped us in a false set. So now we're stuck on a spool. I haven't touched key pin 1 yet, so I suspect that would be the spool. So I'm going to lift on 1 and see if it gives counter rotation, which it is. You can see the core turning back. So you're going to lift that against the counter rotation and set the spool, and then the lock should open hopefully. Alright, now we're open. Just got to release the vise so that the hasp will open. Now that the lock's open, I'm going to show you some tips and tricks to gutting this lock. I'm just going to zoom the camera out for a moment here. Okay. And we're going to be able to focus on our pinning tray. Okay, so the first step when it comes to opening an American lock and gutting it is going to be, you got to take the Phillips head screwdriver, Phillips head screw out. So if you look in here, that's where it's located. So the first step's going to be getting that screw on out. Okay. Now this is the part that holds this little shield in that holds the core in the lock. And there's the screw. And now the core will come out. Now you can see we have a nicely picked American core. And there's a clip on the back that we're going to need to take out. To get this off, I'm going to use this pickle fork. It removes the C-clip, so you just push the C-clip off. And then put it away so you don't lose it. Now I'm going to zoom in on the pinning tray a little bit. I'm just going to move it over. Okay. So, one thing you'll notice on here is this little protrusion You don't particularly want to gut the lock in this position because the driver pins are going to shoot out. So what I recommend is if you have the key, lock it back up. And if you don't, use a shim and turn it to the counterclockwise position. Now, you'll have the back piece here sticking out, so when you use your follower, it will have a gap and nothing will shoot out. So now we're going to use our follower here and then remove the plug. Now we're going to take a look at the key pins. One serrated, two serrated, three serrated, four serrated, five is serrated. Now we're going to take out our driver pins. Now I'm suspecting one is hopefully a spool based off of the way the lock opens, which it is. Serrated spool. 2 is serrated. 3 serrated. 4 serrated spool. And 5 is serrated. And now I'm just going to dump out the key pins. I mean the springs, because these are all just going to be standard springs. And now I'll give you a close-up of the pinning. You can see that we have serrated key pins, serrated spools, and serrated driver pins. Now that we got the lock open, the next stop is going to be how do we put it back together. So I'm just going to zoom out. We're going to put this lock back together. So first thing we're going to do is make note that the part that's sticking out here where the Bible is, that's the front of the lock. And this lock was only pinned up to 5 pins, as they normally are. Just going to put in the springs in the appropriate slots. Next up we're going to do is we're going to use our follower. We're going to orient it up and down like this so we can put the driver pins in. Now one thing you want to note on the serrated pins is that there's 2 pieces on them. One that has a thicker gap on the serrations and one that has a thinner. The thicker gap you want to put down on the spring down so that you can maximize the serrations when someone's trying to pick the lock to make it more difficult. So we're just going to put that in the back. I'm going to take my hook here and just push that down. Now we're going to repeat this for each driver pin, and you just push it down and you just push the follower over it. Alright, so now we only have 2 more driver pins to go. And this process you get a lot better at the more you do it. And this is an important skill for you to have because you can learn to progressive pin these locks, add extra pins, change around the pinning. That can really make it a great lock to learn on. Now once you have them all in, you want to turn it like this, because when you go to put the plug through, you don't want to have this gap or else they're all going to jump out. Now next is the key pins. So we're going to start with 1, then 2, and then, let's see, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. Now the next step is going to be putting in the key. I don't know if you can see the bitting, but it was 46676. We're going to insert the key, and they're all going to be at the shear line, so everything's nice and flush going across. This way we know we have the right key and the right key pins. Now when I insert this, like I said before, I want to insert it where it would have been a counterclockwise positioning. That way that this protrusion will be able to match up here. If I do it the other way, there will be a gap, and then those driver pins will shoot down. So we're going to just line it up, push it through, turn it, and then before we take the key out, I'm just going to stick the C-clip back on to hold it. Now you don't want to turn this all the way upside down here because that will knock the key pins out. It's an easy fix, but you just don't want to do that right now. So now we know the key works, we can stick it back into the lock body. And then we can just line everything up, put the little face plate on that holds the core in, and then once that's in, we can put the little part in that will hold the screw in. Then we can put the screw in and grab our Phillips head screwdriver and just tighten it up. Now the most important thing to do before you lock this up is just one last time verify the lock operates, because once you close this you'd have to pick it again to open it. And now we're just going to stick the key in, see it's working. So what you've seen is my tips and tricks for opening an American lock. This has been an American Lock Series 5200. It's been a fun little lock to pick. I love picking American locks. They're a challenge every time, and you always learn something when you open one. If you have any ideas for any videos you'd like, please drop them in the comments below. And if you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe. Thank you for checking this out, and I hope everyone has a great day. Thank you so much.